everybody, my name is Mars, you can call me MG if you'd like, and today I've got a nice little vlog for you. A quick disclaimer, it is raining as I film this clip, so if you hear rain in the background, that's why. Also, cars are going to be driving by, should disclaimer that. That's true for every video now that I live here. It's fine. I will stop being annoyed by it at some point, but we are just going to move on. This is the Quick to Judge challenge, which I was tagged in months ago, probably at this point, because I'm so bad at getting to things that I'm tagged in. But I was tagged by Whitney over at Tibera's Den. I will leave her video down in the description for you to check out. It's real fun. So this challenge is kind of like the first sentence challenge, where you read the first sentence of a book to see if you're interested in it, and also the first chapter challenge, or try a chapter it's sometimes called, where you read the first chapter of a book to see if you're interested. This one's kind of in the middle, where you read the first one or two paragraphs, so a little bit more detail than just reading the first sentence, but not so much that you have to read a whole chapter. So I thought this would be fun to do in a way to pick my last read of May. It is Wednesday, so we've got a few more days left in the month, just enough to squeak a book in. I'm not in the mood for anything particular, so I've picked 3 books that are very different in terms of like genre and vibes, but they're all about the same size. Looking at this pile now, I'm realizing they're all kind of chunky. They're probably all just about 500 pages, but it's fine. I love me a chunky book, so let me show you what I will be deciding between. First up, we Need to Talk About Kevin by Lionel Shriver. This is a kind of like literary psychological thriller, from what I can tell. It is written in an epistolary format, which I love. It's written in letters, and it's about this mom whose son kills a bunch of people, and she's like reflecting on her time raising her son and all of the events that led up to this happening. And it was made into a movie that I've never seen, but I've heard good things about it. And I've heard that the book is really good, so I picked it up at a library book sale recently, and that is our first option. Then we have Grave Mercy by Robin Lefevers. This one I think is the biggest of the bunch by a little bit. This one might be over 500 pages, but this is historical fantasy. It is YA, and it follows a girl who, I think she's like trying to get away from an arranged marriage. Yeah. Because she doesn't want to be in this arranged marriage, she runs off to join a nunnery, and these nuns serve the god of death and are assassins. That sounds so up my alley. It's so fun. This is kind of like a classic YA fantasy at this point. It came out in 2012, so quite a while ago, and it is the first book in a trilogy. I don't need to start more series, but it's on my TBR, so I'm going to be starting it eventually. So that's option number 2. I can keep my hair out of my face, that'd be great. Option number 3 is also the first book in a trilogy, and it is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, which is a fantasy dystopian, and it is adult, and I don't know much beyond that. It starts with the Great Red Rift, it starts with death, it starts with betrayal, is what the back says. This is the way the world ends for the last time. I don't need to know any more than that. That sounds sick as hell, so I am going to read these first paragraphs out to you guys, and we'll see which one's the most interesting. We'll start with this because it is already in my hand. So, ooh, we have a map. Not that this affects anything, but that's pretty cool. I do love a map in a book. I wonder if there's one in the fantasy book. Probably. So we have the prologue, and it says, "Prologue, you are here." The first paragraph is only 1 sentence, so I'll read that and then, like, the first full paragraph. "Let's start with the end of the world, why don't we? Get it over with and move on to more interesting things. First, a personal ending. There is a thing she will think over and over in the days to come, as she imagines how her son died and tries to make sense of something so innately senseless. She will cover Uche's broken little body with a blanket, except his face, because he's afraid of the dark, and she will sit beside it numb, and she will pay no attention to the world that is ending outside. The world has already ended within her, and neither ending is for the first time. She's old hat at this by now. Not gonna lie, I'm really intrigued by that. That sounds so fascinating. I like that this is in the future tense, at least this prologue. Okay, strong start. Strong start. We will now read the first paragraph of Grave Mercy. Oh, this is a much larger font and more space between the lines and everything, so I guess it kind of evens out the page length a little bit. There is, in fact, a map here. That's pretty cool. I do love a map, as we know. Ooh, there's a Dramatis Personae, a list of characters. Also, doesn't matter for this challenge, but still a cute thing to have. So, Chapter 1, Brittany 1485, because, like I said, this is historical. I bear a deep red stain that runs from my left shoulder down to my right hip, a trail left by the herb witch's poison that my mother used to try to expel me from her womb. That I survived, according to the herb witch, is no miracle, but a sign I have been sired by the god of death himself. That's also a really kick-ass opening paragraph. Okay, this is going to be a harder decision than I thought it would be, I guess, because those two are both really good. But we do have a third option. We will see what this starts off with. Oh, Lionel Shriver is a woman? I did not know that. It has her little author blurb here. Huh. She's also apparently... Well, actually, I don't know if she's British, but she lives in London. Keep flipping till we get here. So, this is, like I said, told in an epistolary format, so it's a letter. It says, November 8th, 2000. Dear Franklin, I'm unsure why one trifling incident this afternoon has moved me to write to you. But since we've been separated, I may most miss coming home to deliver the narrative curiosities of my day, the way a cat might lay mice at your feet, the small, humble offerings that couples proffer after foraging in separate backyards. Were you still installed in my kitchen, slathering crunchy peanut butter on granola, though it was almost time for dinner, I'd no sooner have put down the bags, one leaking clear, viscous drool, than the story would come tumbling out, even before I tried it that we're having pasta tonight, so would you please not eat that whole sandwich? Very large truck drove by. Very annoying. Anyway, I'm less interested in this one. I think this is an easy no for right now. I am still interested by the story, but judging just off of this first paragraph, I think it's one of these two. I don't know. Shall I read one more paragraph of each? I think so. I'll read one more. So we've got our unknown woman whose son has died and the world is ending. So she's old hat at this by now. What she thinks then and thereafter is, but he was free. And it is her bitter, weary self that answers this almost question every time her bewildered, shocked self manages to produce it. He wasn't. Not really. But now he will be. Okay. And then the next sentence, there's like a little, not like scene break, but kind of scene break, and it says, but you need context. Let's try that ending again, writ continentally. Here is a land. Okay. So I guess I read the first page. Going a little bit more than being quick to judge, but that's fine. So, there's that one. Wait for another large truck to go by. And then the second paragraph of Grave Mercy. I am told my father flew into a rage and raised his hand to my mother, even as she lay weak and bleeding on the birthing bed, until the herb witch pointed out to him that if my mother had lain with the god of death, surely he would not stand idly by while my father beat her. I think I'm gonna go with Grave Mercy. I think this is just the vibes I want right now. But this is definitely going on my priority pile and like things that I want to read ASAP, because wow, that was a very intriguing opening, but I think this is the vibe I'm feeling right now, just a little bit more. So, it is... Does it go all the way to the end? Oh no, there's a blurb from the next book, Dark Triumph. This is 549 pages. So a little bit chunkier. I might see if there's an audiobook available on Libby, and like if there's no wait, I can listen as I read, because it is something I really enjoy doing. So I will look into that and then crack into this and give you updates as I go along this final book for me to read in this month. I'm very excited. That was a really great opening. Good morning, friends. It is Thursday now. I feel so under the weather. I ended up going to bed at like 8:30 last night because I had a really bad migraine and I did not sleep well. So I just didn't get out of bed until like 9:30. So I'm still a little bit in pain. I wouldn't consider this a migraine, but like it's definitely some lingering effects. Not fun. But I am functioning, we'll call it, but barely. I do, however, have an update on Grave Mercy. I got about a third of the way through. I think according to the audiobook on Libby, I'm 35% through. Sure. And I'm enjoying this. It is a little bit dated, I will say, because like I said, this came out in, I think, 2012. And you can tell that it is YA fantasy from the early 2010s. Not that that's a bad thing. Definitely not a bad thing. I do enjoy that kind of vibe, that era of YA fantasy. Maybe not as much as I did 10 years ago, but I'm still enjoying this. It's confusing in the way information is dropped a little bit, like I've had to piece things together, and I don't know if that's just me not knowing history or if it is the way the information is actually presented, but what I've gathered is that this takes place in Brittany, which now in modern times is part of France. It's the like northwestern part, but it used to be its own thing. It was a duchy, I think, and I'm assuming that because they have a duchess. They're trying to avoid war with France, who wants to kind of like absorb Brittany into itself. And we've got the convent that our main character Ismay has lived at for 3 years. So basically, when she was 14, she was married off to this guy, and he didn't like her for some reasons that I won't get into now because I feel like it would be too much for me to try and reiterate it, but it's literally chapter 1. And he locks her in the basement, and then this guy comes and rescues her, and it's like, hey, I'm bringing you to this convent of people who work for the Saint of Death, there's 7 old gods that are now referred to as saints as Christianity has kind of permeated the land. And so she works at this convent. She trains for 3 years to become an assassin, to take out people that the Saint of Death, the Lord of Death, the God of Death, whatever you want to call him, his name's Mortain, he reveals to them who they're to kill. So we then, after a few chapters, time skip to when she's 17, and that's like when the main bulk of the story happens. She's getting her first couple of missions and all this, and she gets tangled up with this guy, Gavriel Duval, and I won't get into his whole backstory because I feel like that is spoilers because it comes several chapters in, but he has reason to believe that the convent is no longer fully loyal to the Duchess. The convent has reason to believe he's no longer fully loyal to the Duchess, and so they kind of come to an understanding that they're going to work together to kind of keep France at bay from taking over their duchy in this time of like political peril. And so she's posing as his mistress, and we've made it to court. We haven't seen a ton of things in court, but we are getting a little bit of intrigue, and I think that's really fun. And obviously, this is gonna be a romance. The last line of the blurb is, "How can she deliver death's vengeance upon a target who, against her will, has stolen her heart?" So obviously, they're gonna fall in love. I mean, it could be someone else, but like, I feel like it's gonna be Gabriel. And yeah, it's good. I really love the audiobook narrator. I should look up who the actual narrator is and what her name is, but I feel like she does a really good job with voices and also accents. So I'm looking forward to cracking back into this, and I guess I'll update you at about the 2/3 mark, since I updated you at 1/3. So I'll see you then. Hello, friends. It is about 6:45. You get an update from the bedroom. I'm sorry if the camera is shaky. I'm in my chair. The laptop is half in my lap, half on the arm of the chair, and then my phone is on my laptop, and that's how I'm filming. But I didn't feel like moving around to get a better shot, so you're stuck with this angle. Yeah, I'm 2/3 of the way into Grave Mercy now, and we're getting more of the romance in this section. We've had our first kiss, and it was a pretty good one. I liked it a lot. Chloe, leave the plushies on the shelf. Thank you, ma'am. My cat is trying to wreak havoc. Yeah, I'm still really enjoying it. We've had more political intrigue. We've also had some drama, some tension going on with... Ooh, I've been approached. Chloe? Hello? Okay, she's just gonna sit there and look at me. We've had some stuff going on with other sisters from the convent. So, a lot of different plot threads, and I'm intrigued to see how they all come together in the end. So, at the top of the hour is actually the second game in the PWHL finals. It's Minnesota versus Ottawa. I don't really have stakes in this, so I'm just gonna enjoy watching the hockey game, and whoever wins, wins. But then tonight before bed, I'm gonna do a little bit more reading, and then I guess finish this up. Oh my god. Chloe is sitting on the ottoman that goes with my chair, and Gremlin just jumped up and booped her in the face and then ran off. That was really funny. I genuinely wish I got that on camera for you guys, but alas. Yeah, I guess I'll be finishing this up tomorrow for you guys if things go according to plan. I don't really have much else planned for tomorrow, so I don't think I'll have any problem finishing up the last, like 160, 170 pages of this. So I will see you when I finish up Grave Mercy. Good morning, friends. Happy Friday. I finished Grave Mercy, and it was so good. It was a bit of a rough start, I will admit. As I mentioned in my previous updates, it wasn't quite the beginning I expected. It felt a little bit jarring. I felt like I wasn't getting enough information, but definitely as it went on, it was a lot more take the moment that this car is passing and try and find my words. Like, I felt more invested the more I read, which, like, you want that. You want to be invested from the start, but also you want your readers to, like, keep wanting to read. And I, like, definitely wanted to keep reading this. I didn't want to put it down. It was so good. I loved it. I really am excited to read the other two books, which I've learned the other two books follow two other characters. I thought we were going to follow Ismay throughout the entire series, but there are two other girls that we meet at the convent of the Saint of Death. And we get to follow their stories, which I'm so excited for. The second book is, there's a little preview that I did not actually read, but it does have a picture of book 2, which is Dark Triumph. These cars are so rude. Yeah, book 2 is Dark Triumph. I don't know what book 3 is called. I've definitely seen the cover for it, but whatever. I did look up the audiobook narrator, which is how I learned that the other books are about different girls, because the audiobook narrator for this book is Rachel Frawley, and she does not narrate the other two books, which I was like, that's weird that they have other audiobook narrators. And that's how I learned that they follow different characters. So of course they're gonna have different narrators. But yeah, the audiobook also had an epilogue that was not in my physical copy that kind of like ties into what is going to happen in book 2. And it also had an additional scene where there's something that happened. So like the first few chapters follow Ismay when she first gets to the convent, and then there's a 3-year time jump when we get to the main story. And there's an event that happened sometime within those 3 years that is mentioned but not shown, obviously, but that's the additional scene that I got at the end. So I got a little bit more content than was shown in this book. And it was fun. I really enjoyed it. Is that someone using like a weed whacker? I really hope you can't hear that, but just in case, I'm gonna hurry up and finish because I don't want you to have annoying audio. Anyway, I really had a great time. I'm glad that I chose this, although I do still really want to read the 5th season very soon. That was also a very intriguing first couple of paragraphs. But yes, this was still a great choice. I'm very glad that I read this. I think we're ending off the month on a high note. Thank you again to Whitney for tagging me to do this challenge. I'm interested in doing this again in the future. Maybe not anytime soon, but it might become a recurring thing, like how I'd pick my first read of every year with a scavenger hunt. I say every year, I've done it twice, so it's not even really a full pattern yet, but maybe this will become a recurring thing, is the gist of what I'm trying to say. We have now come to the end of this video. If you've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed making it, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.